Hello, and welcome to today's art tutorial. In this session, we'll dive into the process of drawing dark brown lips with realistic textures and depth. Lips are an essential part of any portrait, and when you're working with darker tones, it opens up an incredible opportunity to explore light, shadows, and the subtleties of natural texture. Whether you're using graphite, colored pencils, or paint, I'll guide you step by step through sketching, shading, adding texture, and creating those beautiful highlights that bring lips to life. Get your art supplies ready, and let's start creating. Step 1. Understanding lip anatomy. Before we start sketching, let's talk about the basic structure of lips. The upper lip typically forms a distinct M shape, with a dip at the center called the Cupid's bow. The lower lip is generally fuller and has a more rounded appearance. Both lips meet at the corners, where shadows tend to form. Take a moment to study your reference photo or observe your own lips in a mirror. Notice the natural creases and how light interacts with different parts of the lips. This understanding will guide you as we move forward. Step 2. Sketching the outline. Now, grab your pencil and lightly sketch the outline. Start with a horizontal guideline to ensure symmetry between the upper and lower lips. Draw the Cupid's bow, then outline the upper and lower lips, keeping your strokes light. Don't worry about perfection right now. The goal is to establish the overall shape. Keep in mind that darker lips might have slightly softer or blurred edges, so we'll refine that during the shading process. If you're happy with your outline, let's move on to shading. Step 3. Blocking and shadows. Dark brown lips have a rich tonal range, so we'll begin by blocking in the shadows. Use a soft pencil or a dark brown shade to add depth to the corners of the mouth and along the line where the lips meet. This is called the vermilion border. Work gently, layering the pigment to create a gradient effect. Focus on where the lips naturally curve inward. These areas will appear darker. Use short, light strokes to create the creases on the lips. These textures are key to making the lips look realistic. At this stage, you should also decide on your light source. Where is the light hitting the lips? Keep this in mind, as it will influence every shading decision you make. Step 4. Building layers and depth. Now, let's build up the midtones and highlights. For dark brown lips, start with a base layer of a warm brown shade. Work in smooth, even strokes to lay down the foundation. Then add darker shades gradually to areas in shadow, such as the corners and along the inner parts of the lips. If you're using colored pencils, blend with a lighter brown or a blending pencil to create a seamless transition between the dark and light areas. For paint, use a dry brush technique to softly blend the colors. The goal is to make the lips look full and natural, with subtle transitions in tone. Don't forget to leave space for the highlights. These are the areas where the lips catch the most light, like the center of the lower lip and the peaks of the Cupid's bow. We'll enhance these areas shortly. Step 5. Adding highlights and texture. Highlights bring life and dimension to your drawing. Use a white pencil or gel pen to carefully add highlights to the areas we identified earlier. For a glossy effect, add curved lines to mimic light reflections on the lips. To enhance the texture, you can use a sharp pencil or fine brush to create small vertical strokes across the lips. These lines should be subtle and follow the natural creases of the lips. If the texture feels too harsh, lightly blend with a soft tissue or blending tool to soften the effect. Step 6. Refining and final touches. Now step back and look at your work. Check if the shadows are deep enough and the highlights are bright enough. Use an eraser to clean up any smudges around the edges and sharpen the outlines if needed. If you're working with paint, consider adding a final layer of gloss to make the lips appear even more lifelike. This can be done with a clear glaze or varnish applied sparingly to the highlighted areas. And there you have it, a detailed and realistic